One of my most anticipated Star Wars comics for the end of the year is the Age of Resistance Supreme Leader Snoke issue, which is set to be released next week. It would be a great opportunity to expand on the character before the release of Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and it would be nice to have some backstory provided in the comic. Fortunately, the short preview provided for the issue yesterday seems to be quite promising, with a number of points worthy of discussion in only the first couple of pages. Once the issue is released next week, I'll be sure to cover it in full and provide a few different lore videos covering Snoke. But I wanted to discuss one specific line that we've seen in the preview now that stood out to me, and which should be expanded upon before we see the full issue next week. This is the reveal made by Snoke to Kylo that he both respected and feared Luke Skywalker. As we'll see, the motivations behind Snoke's respect and fear of Luke has a pretty fascinating explanation within the lore. To break down the preview first, it opens with a First Order command shuttle approaching the planet of Dagobah. As the ramp opens, we see Supreme Leader Snoke and Kylo Ren depart from the shuttle on the planet's surface, with Snoke noting that despite decades having passed, he can still feel the remnant of Luke Skywalker's presence on the planet from the days in which he trained with Yoda. After Snoke refers to Luke as one of the most formidable Jedi in the Order's history, Kylo is taken aback by the Supreme Leader's praise of his uncle, wondering why Snoke treated Luke with such respect. Snoke was clear. He spoke that way because Luke had earned his respect, and not only his respect, but Snoke's fear as well. Snoke would go on to clarify that Luke wasn't weak but misguided, ultimately delivering one of the best burns I've seen from a Star Wars character in a while. At that point, the preview certainly gets interesting, as we then see Snoke bring Kylo to Dagobah's Cave of Evil, where Yoda previously brought Luke in Episode 5, with Kylo confronting Luke inside, much to the delight of Snoke. It's a great preview for a comic that I have high expectations for in terms of expanding on Snoke's character. There'll be time to expand on some of the elements in the comic when the full issue is out, but let's look at Snoke's line to Kylo about his respect and fear for Luke. It might appear to be a simple enough line. We know Luke is immensely powerful and achieved legendary feats, so it would be wise for someone like Snoke to hold a genuine amount of respect and fear regarding Luke. Given that Snoke's singular motivation in Episodes 7 and 8 is to destroy Luke, maybe the line isn't all that interesting in the grander scheme of the issue. But the reason why Snoke respects and fears Luke has a far more interesting answer than merely Luke's power. The reason why Snoke both respects and fears Luke is provided in the Episode 8 novelization. As the canon lore presents Snoke, the Supreme Leader has a tremendous understanding of the Force, having discovered knowledge of its power in long-abandoned, half-legendary star systems found in the unknown regions, and which had been lost to the known galaxy. As Snoke would note, even Darth Sidious was interested in discovering these great truths Snoke had benefited from. And yet, despite all of Snoke's knowledge of the Force, he still had a glaring obstacle in his way towards dominating the galaxy, that being Luke Skywalker. While Luke was dangerous, Snoke had great respect for the Jedi Master for one specific reason. He found Luke to be extremely wise, as he made the initial decision to not rebuild the Jedi Order after its destruction of the Sith. Snoke had very little respect for the Jedi Order, seeing it as having no ability to adapt to galactic realities, and having fallen to become a mere debating society. But Luke was wise enough to not follow this path, instead choosing to understand the origins of the Force and the larger truths behind it, searching the galaxy for ancient Jedi lore. Snoke respected this, and it demonstrated that Luke carried a wisdom unique among the Jedi. While Luke's search for knowledge about the Force made him dangerous, Snoke's fear of him was the result of something different entirely. The Supreme Leader knew that, like his father Anakin Skywalker, Luke was an instrument favored by the will of the cosmic force. This is one of my favorite reveals in the Episode 8 novel, as it positions the Skywalker family as being in a way protected by the Force, potentially carrying a destiny that's favored by the Force itself. There are significant implications of this that we'll discuss in a few upcoming videos, but it was Luke's connection to the cosmic force and its will that made him so feared by Supreme Leader Snoke. It was the primary motivation Snoke had for watching Luke, and when the Jedi began to rebuild an order guided by his knowledge and wisdom, Snoke knew this threatened his designs. Snoke's intervention at this point would result in Kylo's turn, the destruction of Luke's new Jedi Order, and Luke's exile. And yet, for all that success, we still see that Snoke feared Luke during the time of the comic right up until the sequel trilogy, and this was due to Luke's connection to the cosmic force. I hope that next week's comic expands on Snoke's thoughts regarding Luke in some way, even if it is through his training of Kylo. But those are just some of my early thoughts going into next week's Supreme Leader Snoke issue in the Age of Resistance series. Please don't hesitate to let me know what you think of the preview and what you're hoping to see in the full comic next week down in the comments section below. Thank you for watching, everyone, and as always, may the Force be with you.